Now, Africa needs blended finance that is supported by its capital markets in order to unlock financing for critical projects, and including those of climate adaptation and sustainability. And those were the highlights of presentations made by officials of FSD Africa and the pension operators of Nigeria at a roundtable held here today in Lagos. Let's take a listen to those key presentations.
In Africa is producing perhaps $1 billion of the current 30 billion that is at work on climate action, which is an incredibly small number. And as we know, the 30 billion overall is about a tenth of what the continent says it needs in order to drive climate action. So we need to find ways to get that billion up to somewhere closer to 100 billion over the next 5 to 10 years if we're going to make a dent in what's needed. And I think there are ways to do that. And I'm sorry if you think that sounds over-optimistic, but when you think about the regulatory reforms that there are, the discussions that are going on internationally about getting more capital in from a better use of MDB balance sheets and so on and so forth, when you think about structural changes like carbon market development, which can itself leverage private finance, I think there's grounds to be cautiously optimistic that we can make a big dent in that very large number. And capital markets can play a very significant role in facilitating that. So that's why we look forward to these kinds of discussions, and because I think they'll create the partnerships and collaboration that will help to drive that sort of innovation. And then, so there's a sort of numbers thing I just wanted you to think about, but also one of the other themes that we continually need to emphasize is this thing about mainstreaming. So, climate finance isn't a different thing. It's actually part of our lives. And so we need to move away from thinking that, we need to invest in this and there isn't the money now to invest in green stuff over here. It's all part of the same picture. So we have green buildings, we have green agriculture, we have green aviation even. And so we need to sort of change the way we think about climate finance into making it actually part of the whole financial discussion anyway. And there is these, as I said to a number of you yesterday, there are these very profound, super tanker-like shifts in the global financial system.
The British government is committed to supporting Nigeria's financial sector, especially the capital market, to become more innovative, sustainable, resilient, as we face emerging challenges such as climate change, biodiversity loss, and environmental degradation, all of which are extremely big issues in Nigeria and increasingly large issues affecting the lives of many millions of people. So particularly strong issues here in Nigeria. And as we cope with these, the need to finance solutions to this, is ever more important. So a roundtable like this to create a collaborative and market approach to generating sustainable private funds for impact, is all the more important. And sustainable and, innovations that produce returns, of course, are of paramount importance. So to sustain consistent economic growth, Nigeria will need to attract climate smart and private investments and mobilise private finance in order to address some of these challenges, especially in the context of a government that is so fiscally constrained. The British government is working across multiple sectors involved in climate finance to promote knowledge and implementation of climate finance policies, both in public and private sectors. So, for example, we're assisting the mainstreaming of Nigeria's NDC across federal government's budgets. We're working on PPP, pipeline development, through our UK NIAF project, that's our infrastructure project. We're supporting Nigeria's energy transition through UK Pact and others. Supporting with guarantees through innovative finance in collaboration with InfraCredit, who I'm pleased to hear today, and supporting off-grid renewable energy adoption.
It's an open secret that Nigeria is in the middle of an economic and social crisis. It might not look like it from where we sit in this plush setting in Lagos or Oriental Hotel. But if you look beneath the surface and if you look at the stats, you will see and realize that the country is not in a good place. And we really need to be honest about it. We have one of the world's, not even one of the world's, we have the world's largest number of poor people. We've also got the world's highest number of out-of-school children. We've got the largest number of people without access to energy. We've also got a high level of urban and rural migration. And most recently, we are seeing a high level of migration of some of the finest young people in Nigeria to greener pastures in search of economic opportunities. We've also got one of the highest youth unemployment rates in the world, in addition to some of the climate challenges that has been spoken about. The country is facing them: desertification, flooding, and also terrorism, which could also be an offshoot of some of these challenges. And these all point to growing problems that we all have to deal with at some point or the other. So it might not affect us directly, but it's only a matter of time before it gets to us. Whether it's with the number of unemployed people banging on our doors, sending messages to our phones, lack of access to quality healthcare or education, or dealing with potential flooding, or the housing deficits that we have as a nation. All these things stare us in the face as a country. Hence, the prognosis that we're in a crisis situation.